Hello, welcome back to Blended Sushi LiveNoding. In this episode, I want to share with you a breakdown of this rather complex situation here. Basically, I want to be able to procedurally generate some kind of ropes, and they are all at different lengths, and I want to be able to basically assign cloud simulation for each of these polygon edge, and then when I run the simulations, they're all supposed to be like behaving accordingly. So basically, the first and the last points is weighted to 1, and then the cloth is actually pinned into this vertex group that I generated using Sverchok. So this is one example that's kind of a little bit complex. I cannot really share it from scratch. So let me try from try like a smaller number there, and I can randomize the seed perhaps, and maybe scale the rope a little bit, so I can still scale the rope. Randomize the seed here and control the minimum and the maximum length of the rope. And basically the rope, I think, see, it's right away we get that kind of simulations happening, and I can make it like 20, and I run it again, and I think only 3 ropes working because I need to select all this rope and then run this script to assign close simulation to each one of them. And after I do that, I think now each rope should behave properly. So they just fell down, but the first and the last points of the rope is kind of hooked because they are weighted to 1. So how did I do this? Yeah, let's have a look. First of all, I generate the rope, and it's basically I'm using random vector, and one is like just randomized at the random points here, like that, and the other one is being pushed. Let me actually tidy this up a little bit. It does get a bit confusing, but that's the original points, okay, basically. And then the second one is actually I split it and I scale it up, so you got the second points over there at the end. So the first point and the last point, and I join them together using list zip, and then connect the UV and do all that, and so I get this line, the blue line. The black line is actually the one after the closed simulations. You can see how it works. So the blue line, after we get the blue lines, I simply doing a resample. There are 2 ways to resample this. This one, if you want different lengths, different sampling for each line, or this one, the second one, simply resample it the same numbers. Just for simplicity, I actually make it the same number, so I can control the number of points here. And after I do that, I simply pipe down the data into viewer vmesh to generate all these lines as a real object. And then the next thing I did, I have to run this Python script that simply add a cloth modifier, this guy right here, for each selected polygon line. So I need this step because we don't have nodes that assign all this type of physics, or what do you call it, like a simulation or modifier. So we need to do that, run that one time, so each line now have this cloth simulation assign. After we do that, we can use Sverchok add-on to turn on the cloth pinning. So I turn on the cloth pinning using Sverchok, and also assigning the Sverchok vertex group into this guy. So this is all procedural. See, we have 20 objects, and each one of them kind of assign the same thing. And what's different is, of course, here, the vertex group. This part is actually slightly complicated. I'm trying to do all at the same time, which is, but basically the idea is to assign a vertex group weight where we have like line like this, and then try to give like weighting of 1 to the first and the last point. And I think the vertex group weight probably works for the same number of points, and we cannot have like different number of points. I tried it, maybe it's possible, I don't know yet, but I think in situation like this, really maybe Python scripting is better, but doing it this way, like prototyping it using nodes, kind of help to figure out what's going on. It does kind of work somehow if we are using the same number of points. So now if I even like, if I increase the number like 150 lines now, and then select all the line and then assign this clause into the line, and then run the simulations, you see that it will actually work properly. All the lines will fall down. So we are basically hooking the first and the last points of the line. So yeah, I think this is rather complicated, but I think it's a good example of how you might use add-on like Sverchok to do this kind of thing. Yeah, I guess hopefully this is useful for you. I don't know if you ever want to do something like this. Maybe you need to do this at some point, you know, like, I don't know, you make like a bunch of ropes, and then you want to hook the first and the last, and you want to do it very, very quickly, then you can use this setup. Yeah, and of course this doesn't this works not only on the cloth, not only like a polygon edge, but it works on any kind of mesh that you want to turn into cloth. So this is a quick Python script simply assigning cloth simulations for every selected object, and I'm using the BPY ops. This is just a quick and dirty way to do it. If you ever need to assign modifier, because this is only like once off thing, this is also kind of useful. So if I draw it using grease pencil, what's really going on is like you use Sverchok, make bunch of points, make bunch of rope, and then you use like a Python script, Python assign cloth, and then do the modifications using Sverchok for the cloth setting, and then using Sverchok also assign the weighting for each cloth. So yeah, the procedure is pretty simple, but once you assign it to multiple objects, it gets complicated, and it will give you this really beautiful, complex looking result. So, and then it's still actually kind of manageable. You can, at any point, you can perhaps like switch off the pinning. So let's see, we get all this rope, and then we want to switch off the pinning. Just make this into false, and then continue the simulations. I think the rope's gonna fall, like so. And you can always turn it on again. So that's the whole idea. It's pretty complicated, especially this part. I found it, trying to do all this can get pretty complicated, but it's actually possible. Basically what I'm trying to do here can be done easier using Python script. Basically select all the polygon edge or select all the row line, and then figure out the number of points for each line, and then try to get the first and the last points, and then assign the weighting to those points only. Like give it like a value of 1, and the rest of the lines will get a value of 0. So I think this is a good example, although it's rather complicated, but yeah, you get this cool result, and you can just simply perhaps like render it out. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Thanks again for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye.